Welcome back. We are at part 3 of this 3-part mini series around building an online quiz for your brand. And so far, we have talked about, I gave you a behind the scenes of my quiz experience. We have talked with the founder of Interact, the very popular and incredible quiz platform that I use. And today, we are talking with my quiz coach, the person who taught me the ropes, if you will. And we're going to get deeper into her vantage point in quizzes, what she's seen, great examples to help improve the quizzes that you're doing, or if you're thinking about doing them for the first time, giving you that confidence to do your quizzes better or do them well if they're brand new. Helen Munshi is my quiz coach. She has been on the show before, so if you're a longtime listener, her name might sound familiar. About a little over a year ago, she was on the show on episode 95 talking about how to use quizzes to attract leads. And so if you missed it, you like what you hear today, go back and listen to episode 95 for more of Helen's goodness. That was actually when she and I first met. And we've since now started working together, and I hired her on as a coach and have learned a great deal from her. So Helen is an online business growth strategist and trained quiz funnel expert. And that's the biggest thing today. Listen to her. She's done and helped so many companies and so many professionals and so many entrepreneurs figure out this world of quizzes. She specializes in helping entrepreneurs who are sick of being the best kept secret on the internet generate high quality leads using the magic of online quizzes. Businesses that she's helped now have freebies that convert at 80% and 70% email open rates. Helen offers full done for you quizzes and also runs the Quiz Academy, where she supports business owners to create their own quizzes, which is where I hired her as a coach and learned from her. Welcome to Marketing with Empathy, where we help marketers and business professionals create content that drives better business results, content that attracts and engages new and existing customers. How? By planning content through an empathy lens, positioning your customer as the hero and you and your brand as the guide that they want to buy from because you get them. I'm your host, Sarah Panus, and I understand how hard it is to juggle all the demands coming at you. As a content strategist and certified story brand guide, I have more than 20 years of experience creating winning content plans for brands of all sizes, including Sleep Number, Starbucks, Nestle Waters, Lindt Chocolate, SheFit, and numerous mid and small size businesses, helping drive millions of engagements and sales each year. And this podcast is in the top 5% of all marketing podcasts thanks to your support. So let's hear from today's sponsors and then jump right into my conversation with my quiz coach, Helen Munshi, and hear what other insights you can learn to wrap up this 3-part mini series about quizzes to help you and your business attract more leads, engage your audiences, get deeper insights this year through a quiz. Hey, Helen, welcome back to the show. We're doing this whole series on quizzes. This is part 3, and I wanted to have you back on as my quiz coach and break down the most important things that people should know about quizzes. I want to talk first about some of the key aspects that you cover in your Quiz Academy course. And I talked a little bit about it in terms of my experience. I went through this 2 episodes prior to this and walked everyone through each section and what I did with my quiz and some callouts and learnings. And so I've highlighted a few of them that I really want to dig into because I think they're the ones that I want to make sure everyone listening that you are extra thoughtful around when you're creating your quizzes. So the first part was the product suite. So can you talk to us about how to identify what if it's your service or your products, like how you identify what you ultimately are going to promote at the end of each quiz? Because when I went through this with you, the product suite, it was actually a really great exercise just for my business as a whole, because I had already identified the target customers, and it actually helped me more strategically think about it and tighten up some things. So I would love to start there, because everyone listening, you have a tangible product or service that you offer, and you had some good advice about how do we think about what we offer at the end of each quiz. So talk to us about your thoughts there.
Yeah, definitely. And I absolutely love that you're starting with this, because it actually should be one of the first things you think about when you're creating your quiz, because what's going to elevate your quiz from just being like a fun BuzzFeed style quiz to actually being something that's a strategic part of your marketing plan and your content strategy is going to be how it strategically fits within your business. And the biggest element of that is, how do we get people to take the action that we want them to take at the end of the quiz, which is obviously, hopefully, buy from you. To make that happen and to make it really seamless is we have to start with the end in mind. So we actually design a quiz backwards. We start with that point and we go, what is it that we actually really want to promote and get them buying into? And there's a couple of different ways to look at it. You can think, you know what, I've got one product or service that's perfect for this. This might be a membership, it could be whatever it is that you're selling, that you feel like that's the thing that I really want to list build for and I really want to promote right now. Then what you can do is you can take the quiz and say, I'm going to just sell the same thing at the end of it, on the results page or in the follow-up sequence, but I'm going to sell in different ways to the different results categories. So that's one way you can do it. And that's all about personalized marketing. For example, if someone went through your quiz and say you're a dietitian and you specialize in gluten-free meal plans, but actually you need to understand, are they the kind of cook that wants to take ages to make the meals and they want it to be really elaborate? Is it someone who's busy, they're on the go, they want something they can just grab and take away? Are they someone who likes to do slow cooking, one pot, whatever it is? So the outcome might be, actually, I'm going to sell them into my gluten-free membership, but I now understand from my results categories, actually, I'm going to talk about, for the slow cookers, I'm going to talk about the recipes in the membership that's going to help them with their slow cooking. Or for the people who are on the grab and go, we're going to talk about the bonus as part of the membership that's all about 20-minute meals, whatever it might be. So you're taking the same product or service and you're just selling it in different ways depending on how they answer. So that's one way you can do it. And then the other way is the way that you did it, which was having identified the different people within my business, the kind of the different segments. I'm going to offer them something that suits the place that they're at, so that you're going to offer them something different depending on how they answer. Either of them works really well. It all just depends on how you've set up your own product suite.
Yeah.
I think the big thing really to think about is when someone opts in, that is normally the point. Like, quite often I feel like we're told that you need to nurture them, you need to have them on your list for a while, you've got to warm them up. But actually, I think at the point when they opt in and they give you their email address and they've searched for a question and you've popped up as having the answer, that's actually when they're most likely, they're like the hottest lead, they're most likely to buy, they're ready, they want a solution, they want a product. So I say, put something on the results page, something under $100 that you can sell that's going to support them in that moment. Or don't be afraid to sell very quickly into the follow-up email sequence as well.
And that was a good exercise for me too, because I remember one of my questions when I went through it for you was how many offers? Because I had several things for each category that do great work and that help my clients. But ultimately, it's about focus and focus on one thing, because you don't want to bombard them. And then the other thing you had told me too is pick like the lower price thing, like you just said. So it's not sticker shock right away. It's a more easier entry point in to you as a company. Doesn't mean you're not going to talk about all your other stuff later, guys. It's just, what's that initial thing that you're going to talk about with them?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right in terms of the sticker kind of shock, is that you got to think about when someone like first comes to you the way through to when they buy from you, that's like the customer journey through your business. And you want to make that process like as smooth as possible. You've got an opt-in, you've got results pages, you've got emails. And what you don't want to do is put something really big in front of them, or something really off topic or like unnatural, or not something that naturally they want to do next, because that's going to make them bounce out. So yeah, that's really crucial. And I think the other thing to really think about as well, the big kind of thing, is really is the call to action, or kind of what you're offering, is it scalable? So we don't want to be looking to offer one-to-one calls for everybody who goes through the results page, because that's going to take a lot of your time. So whatever you offer, can you offer it en masse?
Yeah, which is something I'm going to keep working through, because that is one of my popular call to actions, is to schedule a free discovery call with me, which is the perfect starting point for most of my clients, because then we figure out what like layer you could go into. But that's the nice piece with a quiz is those types of common questions you may get asked, or that your customer service team may get asked, or your sales team may get asked about your products and things. It's think about how you can automate that through this quiz to
Yeah.
answer some of those things and get people to start self-selecting and getting into the right lane. So then when you do have follow-up conversations, if you do have those, it's already more focused, and you can start like on step two instead of right at step one together, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not to
Mhm.
say you can never offer a one-to-one call. If you've
Yeah.
got a high ticket item and actually you really do need to get on a call with them, but you don't anticipate the majority of people falling into that category,
Mhm.
then do that. If that works, then definitely do that. But just think about how many people do you think are going to hit on that result and therefore take the opportunity of a call.
Yes. And so then as we think about like good call to actions, are there any kind of favorite types of call to actions that jump to your mind that would be good to share to get people's wheels going of what they could think about for their businesses?
Yeah, it's usually in terms of what you might sell, it's like your mini courses, trial of a membership. It could be free training. You don't have to sell something. It could be take this free training. That's my current call to action on my quiz. But I think as with any call to action, just make it clear. Like I used to go for like really funny or cute call to actions. Like you don't need that. People need to be told this is what I need to do next. Be directive. And with products as well, quizzes work incredibly well with products businesses because it's
Mhm.
your call to action and what you give them on the results page. It's like having a personalized shopper in your back pocket kind of thing. So you can give them product recommendations based on how they've answered and they convert really well.
Okay, so then let's move then to audience segments. So once we figured out
Mhm.
the offers and what we want to actually offer these people, then we back in and think, okay, who are the audience segments that I want to target, that I think will take this quiz,
Mhm.
that I want to serve? And so I ended up with 4 different audience segments in my quiz. Talk to us about how many audience segments are ideal for a quiz.
Yeah, it partly depends on where you're using the quiz. So if it's most people, first quiz they create is going to be lead generation. So that's top of funnel, like opt-in, basically freebie. And in that situation, because you want to keep their attention, you want to get them working through the quiz, keep them excited. You don't normally want more than about 10 questions max, because otherwise they're gonna click out. So in that situation, probably I would say 3 to 4 results categories work well. More than that, it's going to be hard if you've got, say, 8 segments and only 10 questions. If I change my answers to one question, it's going to wildly change which segment I end up in, which is going to make potentially the results less accurate and it's going to hit home less with your potential clients. So, yeah, I would say keep it 3 to 4. If you've only got one or two, one doesn't really work. But if you've got two, it doesn't feel personalized enough. It doesn't feel like you could talk specifically enough to the person who's hit that results category to make them feel like you understand them.
Got it.
So yeah, for me, 3 to 4 is a really sweet point. When you start getting more questions, then you want to start having more results categories because again, that lets you be specific.
Okay, so 3 to 4 audience segments. Follow-up question then with that too is, what if somebody is creating a quiz and they're like, okay, we know these are the audience segments we want to serve, but
Mhm.
we also know maybe there's this outlier that we don't serve, but they may try to take this quiz. Should they bother with creating a segment and a results page for that outlier to make sure they can be engaged? Or do they just ignore that segment and just say it's fine because they don't care about serving that segment and bringing them in? And so they're just, that person may just try to start the quiz and then realize it's not for them and just close it.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would think the answer is really the person who's taking it or potentially taking the quiz who's not really, you don't serve at the moment, etc. Will they ever turn into a potential customer? So is it just that they will never be working with you, or is it just that they're not near to working with you right now? So if they're never going to be working with you, then they're not really your ideal client. And I'd say let them bounce out. They're not the right person and you're not the right person for them, which is, great. That's how this process works. If they are just maybe a bit early in their journey or they're just not quite ready yet, then what you can do is rather than creating a specific category for them, you can have one question that will identify them. If you're doing a business quiz, for example, have you started your business? No. Okay, so basically we know that anyone who's answered no is not going to be working with us, for example. So you can then identify them as not being ready at that point, still let them go through the quiz, still let them get something from it and benefit from it based on the results. So when you're then marketing afterwards, that people with this tag need a bit more work. They need some more nurturing. Maybe we send them some different types of emails to talk to where they're at right now.
Okay. Yep, that makes a ton of sense. All right. The next thing then was like the quiz question. So we figured out what we're going to offer them. We figured out who we're talking to. And then we work into the actual quiz questions and the title of the
Yeah.
quiz. So, how can we make sure then that our quizzes are engaging and interactive? What tips do you have there?
One of the great things about quizzes is they're just a way to let your brand completely shine. Like you can infuse it with your personality. So I like to work with my clients and we sit down and we try and work out the essence of what we're trying to understand and know from a particular question. So it might be, you know what, we want to understand what frustrations our potential clients have right now with, I don't know, their current underwear provider, whatever. We want to understand that from this question, but how can we then add some sparkle to that question to make it more fun and positive for them, but also fit within our brand and our personality? So you can obviously do that through your words. You can use it through imagery, because obviously with quizzes, you get to put your own images in. And then also storytelling, which is obviously we're in your wheelhouse here. This is the big part of quizzes, is all about weaving a story about you, but also using story imagery and story techniques through your questions as well. One of my quiz questions that I use quite often is fast forward a year and you're poolside with an espresso martini in your hand after your best year yet in business. What did you need to let go of to get here? So what we're really asking them in essence is, what's not going great right now that you've got to change in order to achieve your business goals? But by giving it a forward focus, by giving it a bit of imagery, we're sitting by the pool, it's feeling good. We are getting the same answer, but we're making it feel a lot better for the person answering the question.
This for me was so fun. It was, as a
Yeah.
content person myself, I was like, oh, this is fun to think of it in a playful way. So with mine's all around people are ready to make over their content strategy. And so I took that idea of the makeover concept and translated it to all these home makeover shows and like HGTV, and you have all these makeover shows, and it's really fun to see things get made over and improved. And so mine's all framed around, if your business was a home makeover show, what would your show be called, and what things would you need to tackle to improve it, aka to make over your content strategy? One of my quiz questions I have after they've answered the initial, my second question is, it says, congrats, you just won an HGTV home makeover. Which content prize package will help your brand the most this year? And then I have 4 different examples. One is super scale content makeover to advance your big brand content to the next level, or repurpose existing content makeover, or let's get started content makeover for a mid-sized brand that's ready to start investing in storytelling. And then my last was small business content makeover. So it helps me think about those 4 segments and where you're at, but just talk about it in a playful way.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also kind of theme your quiz almost. So you obviously got the theme of kind of the
Yeah.
makeover shows, which gives it a really nice structure. But I've seen other ones out there, they use cocktails, they use TV shows, they use, and it doesn't have to be the whole quiz. You can just
Yeah.
do a particular question that's branded as well. It's a fun way to inject a bit of like brand essence and personality into it.
Yeah. And that was good because I remember there was a couple questions that I was trying really hard to get it back to the home theme. And I was like, oh, it just felt like it was muddying it and it wasn't as clear of a question. And you were like, it's okay. Like a few of the questions don't have to be themed. Like that's totally fine. So I share that for folks who are doing theirs. But it's just, if it is a theme, like mine is, you want to make sure the majority are, so it ties back into it. But I definitely
Yeah.
have a few that are just more straightforward questions that are really helping me
Mhm.
understand where someone's at, and then ultimately then what are going to be the results and the tips that I share with them at the end so that they're the most helpful for them.
Yeah.
You've seen so many different quizzes. I'm
Yeah.
curious, any favorite real life quiz questions or title examples, again, just to get people's wheels going?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, in the Quiz Academy, I've got a list of over
Yeah.
100 quizzes, examples. Just it's for inspiration, really, just to get those kind of cogs turning. But it's yes, I've scoured the internet for sure. I've picked up a few that I love. So there is a website design shop, like a template shop called Tonic Site Shop. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Yeah, you do. They're just the most beautiful websites.
And side note, the founder sends the best emails. I don't know if you're on their email
Yeah, they're a
newsletter,
great
but
brand to follow.
oh, they're
Yeah, if you're
incredible.
needing your website, fantastic. But if you just want to get some ideas and some kind of inspiration and stuff, brilliant brand, but they have a
Yeah.
quiz, and we just put it up now. So they rely quite heavily on their quiz actually for their marketing, and they very much theme theirs, which is a great example of the themed quiz. So they are not sure which site is right for you. So they're basically using it as like a product finder to matching you with your perfect. So it's get matched with your perfect website, wondering which template to take home. You're in luck because we predicted the Bachelor winner 4 seasons in a row. So yes, we're well equipped to play matchmaker. Take the quiz to get 3 hand-picked templates that are perfect match for your style, brand, and goals, plus a party favor to celebrate the start of your new era. So like super
So
fun, very
good.
clear about what you're going to get. So you're going to get 3 hand-picked templates that are going to match your style, brand, and your goals. So they could have just said that, take the quiz to get 3 templates that match your goal, but
Yeah.
they just put more fun into it, and it helps to reflect the brand. And they've actually got a couple of great questions in there as well. First question I love, so it's, you have a Zoom meeting and it's camera on. So what outfit are you showing up to best rep your brand? So that one I love. I think that's really fun. It's got
Yeah.
a lot of imagery, so it's just very engaging. The other question that I love in this one, so your brand walks into a cocktail party that is the internet. How do you want your brand to show up online? And then it's like the life and soul of the party with personality to spare, like you're down to earth, or you're professional and credible, or elegant. They go through a few different options. So that one I love because it's just so well done, so on brand. And you just, yeah, you want to click through, and they're asking good questions to actually give you good recommendations, but they're doing it in a way that you really don't even notice that you're answering almost.
I've actually taken that quiz. So it's funny you brought that one up because I had looked into them for my own business. They do a great job with content marketing in general. So
Yeah.
great example. Okay, in spare time, I'm going to keep us moving to talk about
Sure.
results pages next. Because to
Yeah.
me, this is really the meat of what we give our audience and the
Mhm.
ultimate bridge between them checking us out and wanting to actually buy from us or work with us. And so when thinking about our results pages, how much should we include, and what big nuggets do you want us to remember when we're writing our results pages?
Yeah, it's a hard one to answer because it depends on a lot of
Depends.
things. So some
Yep.
people, you want the results page to be accessible. Like you don't want it to be overly long that someone's just going to do a quick scroll and go, no, I'm out. That's just too much for me. You also want it to be visually very appealing, because I think there's a tendency to want to cram as much information in as possible, and it gets very text heavy. So we want to make sure that the results pages are branded, but also really have enough white space in them. I think people really underestimate the power of a well laid out page so you can actually access the information. In terms of kind of the overall length, I would say generally products business results pages are shorter than services, because the products pages you're putting front and center product recommendations, and you really want those to be like the main focus. Whereas the kind of the services page is a lot more about the individual that they're buying from, and it's about the individual story. So generally services will be slightly longer. I like to bear a few things in mind. So I always want to make the person who's gone through the quiz, when they land on that quiz page, I want to get them really excited about the result they've got. You want them to think it was a great use of my time to take that quiz. I'm excited about the result. They're part of something. They're part of this team of people who get this results category. So we want to shout out and celebrate who they are and what result they got, like front and center, first thing. So we want to make sure that they know what's great about the result they've got, so the positives, but then we also obviously want to make sure that they know that we also understand some of the struggles they're facing. Like it's not all unicorns and rainbows. So just that kind of, I think Donald Miller says it's that little salt in the recipe, like just that little sprinkling of, I understand things might be tough right now, or this might be something, the challenges that you're facing right now, not too much, otherwise you ruin it, not too little, and otherwise your content feels a bit to detach from maybe where they're at. So you've got that bit, and then really it's that clear action plan, roadmap, product recommendation, some kind of concrete takeaway that they can anchor onto and go, okay, yeah, you know what? Sarah really knows what she's talking about. And I feel like she's given me some great tips. And I know I get like just a little insight as to what it might be to work with her and the brilliance that I will get from that. Then a bit about you, and then, yeah, call to actions. And there's other kind of bits you can sprinkle in to elevate it and really bring it alive more. But those I say were the key kind of elements, really.
And I would add, as I'm a story brand certified guide too, I think of the story brand aspect when I was writing mine too. And so the other tip I would just layer, you're 100% right. And so as I was laying through mine, is just making sure when you're writing your results pages too, you're really always thinking about the customer and what they need and what their problem is and how you solve it. And start with that. That's your hook. And just keep reminding yourself of that so you don't get too much into all about you. This is their results pages to help them, like how you help them. So just make sure you're focused on their problem and how you're a great guide to help them go through that because of what, to your point, all your brilliance
Yeah.
and your expertise and things like that, but focus on their problem. Don't make the mistake of just talking all about you. Okay. If that's like for service based, I know with product based businesses, it's the same thing though, because how does your product help them solve the
Mhm.
problem? So you just always have to make sure you're thinking of that. All right. So I'm curious to get your thoughts because since we work together, and even since I've launched my first quiz on Interact, I know you use Interact as a platform
Mhm.
as well. We had the founder of Interact on, Josh Heyman, last week. And so he was talking about this new feature. I haven't used it yet. I'm curious if you have. So Interact's now offering an AI quiz option. That'll, he says, will write your, whole quiz in minutes, which sounds appealing, right? But I know there's pros and cons to AI too. So I'm curious, have you experimented with Interact's new AI yet? And maybe what tips do you have to help us refine what AI writes? Because I don't think
Yeah.
anyone should take just what AI does ever as a standalone thing. I think there's some time saving efficiencies, but I'm curious if you've had a chance to play around with that yet.
Yeah, definitely. And I have absolutely had a go with it. And I think it's fantastic for a starter for 10. Like it's great for kind of some inspiration. And if you're stuck on a particular bit, I think it plays a part. And I'm actually adding into my quiz academy AI prompts for various stages in the process just to help you like speed the process up, but also just make it a little bit easier for you to come up with your own ideas as well. So I feel like AI, the content should always inform, but never be, like you say, like 100%, I'm just going to copy and paste. I think the other thing as well to think about is we've talked earlier about you can create a quiz and you can put it out, you can get people to take it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting the right people to take it and actually getting to take the action at the end. When we've been talking, and you'll know from our work together, the actual bit that the AI thing does with an Interact is a very tiny portion of the work that actually goes into a quiz. It's one of the last things we actually look at, which seems mad because you just think, I'm going to write a quiz, I'm going to write the questions and answers, which is you need, but there's so much more that goes around it. It's the strategy piece you've already talked about, it's the customer flow, it's making sure you've got the segments right. So you need to have all that information mapped out and working in order to actually get the results that you want from your quiz to start with. So yeah, I think there's definitely space for it, but I think you always want to make sure that you have the bigger piece that fits around it so it's on brand, works for your customers, and actually gets you sales.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's great. And it's a good lead in because my next point was going to be around the full funnel, thinking it through and that where we promote it and how we distribute it. Because that when I've said to people and I've just started talking, like one of my big goals last year related to content is I'm always an avid learner and I want to see what lanes I don't know enough about and I want to. And quizzes were one of my things last year, really inspired by our discussion first, Helen, when you were on episode 95. Because I was like, dang, I've done a lot of content, a lot of content strategy and planning for huge brands and various clients throughout my 20-year career, but I hadn't done anything with quizzes. And so that was like after we had that conversation, it was percolating with me. And so it was one of my goals, which is why then I hired you on as my quiz coach and I took the Quiz Academy course that you offer. And I learned so much about it because what surprises people when they hear me say one of my goals was to learn about quizzes is that they're thinking just what you said. They're thinking the end of just the title and the questions. They're not thinking of that full funnel and the background of all the strategy that goes into it and then all the places of how you can leverage and use your quiz. So can you talk a bit about ideas for where to promote and how to distribute? Think about this. We've talked about the beginning part of the funnel of who and what we're offering and the strategy there and how it plays into the business. Josh last week from Interact talked about just some other ways that people use it beyond lead generation, like for employee
Yeah.
engagement, or he had a great example I'm going to create for this podcast, which was, I think you said Amy Porterfield does it on her site where she has a quiz to that gives recommendations of which podcast episodes because she has tons and tons of episodes. So
Yeah.
it's like, how do you repurpose previous content? I could see brands doing that with their blogs, right? Hey, if you're new here, take this quiz, and then it serves you up a few articles. That would be like a great place for you to start. How cool. I hadn't
Yeah.
thought of doing quizzes from that perspective at all. So I'm curious, as we think about the promotion, the distribution, and uses for it, what else would you like to share that we haven't covered already?
Definitely. And I think it's interesting you're talking about kind of the strategy piece and putting it into the wider picture, because my background is actually 15 plus years in strategy. Like that is that's my thing, that's what I do, that's what I know for businesses. And fitting it into the overall strategy and making sure the quiz and the content around it works, that's like crucial. Otherwise it's a waste of your time and it's a waste of your client's time to take it. So yeah, in terms of promoting it, you want to promote it everywhere. That's the thing with everything. You want it on email signatures, all over your socials, you want it to give out on podcasts, you want it just literally everywhere. And you can also run ads to them, which are crazy cheap. Like I've got a client getting leads at about 30 cents a lead at the moment on Facebook, which is just like unheard of. In terms of promotion, it's like any other freebie. You want to put it out anywhere. The reason I feel like quizzes are really gaining in popularity at the moment is because it's all about personalization. Like we've got these two tranches going on in marketing and content and business. We've got AI is really taking off, obviously, and you've got the counteract to that, which is just this incredible need from your customers to have some kind of personalization within the business. So rather than shouting into the void with the same marketing message, which I think falls flat nowadays, quizzes will enable you to have a much more personalized approach to talking to your customers and serving them and supporting them. So I think that's the biggest takeaway really is the reason you want to get on board with quizzes is because it offers that kind of ability to personalize, but also automate and personalize, which is slightly contradictory kind of thing within your business.
Brilliant. Okay, so tell us more. I know I've mentioned the Quiz Academy and touched on some things that you teach in there. There's a lot of other goodness that you have inside of it, of course.
Yeah.
Tell everyone about the Quiz Academy and what they should know. And if you're interested in signing up with Helen as your quiz coach, like I did, I'm going to drop in the link to the Quiz Academy here in the podcast description and in the show notes. So you can click through to that and see if it's a good fit for you. But tell us more, Helen, about the program.
It's a
Yeah.
really comprehensive, everything you need to do from not knowing anything about quizzes right up to having one fully up, running, functioning, and fitting within the overall flow of your business. Really short, snappy kind of videos, so you're not really overwhelmed with kind of information as well. So we cover the quiz elements themselves, but we've got loads of examples in there. We've got templates done for you. We've got loads of different things to make it as easy as possible to get this up and running. And you get 6 months of support with me as well. So it's helping you to take the information, but then make it really personalized to you. So I'm always available to review content, to give you ideas. And that's what I love, is working with people directly as well. So it's very step by step. So you're never going to get lost and wonder. But it really takes you through how to get the right people onto your list so that you're getting a list of buyers rather than ghosters or lurkers. We don't want to have people like that on our list because it's not good for them. And we want to get the right people on there.
I would echo and agree with everything. I enjoyed going through it and I highly recommend it, which is why I wanted you to come back onto the show and hear from you. It's a great way. So if anyone's like me, if you're listening and you really want to get into the content strategy and the whole funnel aspect of a quiz, not just the copywriting aspect of it in terms of the questions and the title, but that deep whole process, I highly recommend taking the Quiz Academy to enhance your skills there, up level your skills. Or if you're like, yeah, it sounds like a lot of work, you can just hire Helen and I, and we will help you work through this. Helen does this, as she's, like I said in the intro, she also does done for you work. You can hire her to do this and then that piece. And then I can help think through the rest of the content strategy aspect. But from my experience, Helen, so many of the companies and brands that I work with, they lack a really good lead generator. And I know quizzes from this 3-part series, we've learned there's lots of different uses for quizzes, and it's not just about lead gen, but it is a huge lead gen opportunity to use a quiz. It's one of the big ways to use them. And so I would just encourage everyone, think about low hanging fruit. Do you have a good lead generator? If you don't, could a quiz be a good option? Do you need additional insights to engage your community in some way or to point them towards different things? Boom. How can you streamline and more efficiently answer maybe some questions that you get asked a lot through a quiz? I love that point about personalization and giving them really focused content that's going to serve your audience better. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to put the link to the Quiz Academy here in the description as well as in the show notes. But how else can people connect with you online outside of the Quiz Academy?
Yeah, absolutely. So the link you're going to provide is going to take you through to a more comprehensive training. So if you want to just dip your toe in and learn a bit more, then that's a great option. If you want to just come chat with me on Instagram, again, good place. I'm happy to always chat in the DMs, or you can see my content. So that's at Helen Munshi. So my name is my handle.
And Munshi is Munshi, and I will drop
Yes,
that
very
into
good.
the
Yeah.
links as well. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been great. And that wraps up this 3-part series on quizzes and how you can leverage them with your own company to, we've learned, do a variety of things. If you go back 2 episodes before this, I gave a behind the scenes walkthrough of my own quiz creation process. The first quiz funnel that I created step by step. The second was with the CEO and founder of Interact, a very popular quiz platform, the platform that I use. And he gave some great examples of other ways and reasons to use a quiz for your company. And then now, as you just heard, Helen Munshi, my own quiz coach, and giving some additional examples and insights to think about. So I hope that this was really helpful for you. I would love to hear any follow-up questions. I would love to see the quizzes that you create. If you want to join our private Slack community for Marketing with Empathy listeners, the link is in the description here. And or you can also DM me on LinkedIn at Sarah Panus. Very active over there. Would love to hear what you take away from this and would love to see the quizzes that you end up creating for your brand. That wraps up this week. Until next week, God bless.